This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, back from the Mile High City, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Bro, the photos from Colorado, I was about to book a flight and get out there and do some hiking with you. It was an amazing trip that you took. The photos were awesome. Did you get any Mile High love? Did you feel like, you know what, these beautiful mountains, the outdoor life, did the mountains of Colorado draw you a little bit? Did you like it?
So it was absolutely beautiful. I'll say this, and me and B are going to discuss this on our podcast. I did a 6-hour hike in the Rockies, and it was arguably one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, bad. I didn't think that.
It apparently it had snowed a couple days before we got in. So we went on this hike with a group of people, and we were walking in about 2 feet of snow. So it was bad. And we did it with people who weren't in great shape. So, you know, with the altitude, it becomes much more difficult to breathe, and it was a lot of stopping. That's part of the reason why it took 6 hours. But besides all of that, I was floored at how beautiful the mountains were. This is the second time I've been to Colorado. I drove through it once, and I stayed overnight in Boulder. This time we stayed in Boulder, we stayed in Denver, we checked out Morrison. It's a small little city, Golden, Colorado. Checked out a couple different places all over the place. It was absolutely beautiful. Went to Red Rock. Red Rock blew my mind. And I give my girlfriend shit about Red Rock. We have this inside joke regarding Red Rock. I give her shit about Red Rock all the time. And we got there, and I looked there, and I was like, this is awesome. And she was like, I knew it was going to go one of two ways. Either you're going to absolutely hate it, or you were going to fall in love with it. I was like, no, this is great. There was a band playing, because in Colorado, we were basically a week ahead of time. If we would have waited one more week to go out there, they would have had everything open, and everything would have been regular. So we went in the week before everything reopened at full capacity for a lot of stuff. Now, Red Rock's not at full capacity, and Red Rock won't be at full capacity, but they were doing concerts at 25%. And one of the groups was this, I guess it was like a folk group. They were called Leftover Salmon. And when I tell you that we were looking at getting concert tickets to some group we've never even heard of called Leftover Salmon, I'm absolutely serious. But the tickets were going for $120, and there was no way I was paying $120 for a group called Leftover Salmon. At least for one of us, it was $120. It'd have been $240 for two people plus whatever the fees are. So it was a good time, man. Like, Red Rock blew my mind. I went, and there was this waterfall that we seen, and I love waterfalls. So that was really, really cool. Hiking through the Rockies, due to the conditions and due to some of the people that we were with, was incredibly difficult and sucked. We also hiked up a mountain called Sugarloaf, which was absolutely beautiful too. You had like a 360-degree view of everything in the area. And there's nothing cooler than basically driving just below cloud level and seeing all of the snow piled up on the mountains. And then as you kind of work your way down, it just gets into brown land, and it just becomes 80 degrees. Like, you could be in the same city in Colorado, and you could be, depending on what your elevation is, it's like a 45-degree temperature difference. Like, you could be down in Boulder and it's 82 degrees, and then you could be like up in the mountains in Boulder and it's like 45 degrees. It was absolutely nuts. It was absolutely great, though. I recommend it. If you ever get a chance, go to Colorado. It's great.
If you can follow along on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, the reason why I'm getting into mountain climbing and hiking and the visuals, obviously, the big boss at SI and executive is right now, as we're recording this, figuring out a way to scale the Mount Everest. And he's going to complete an amazing journey of scaling all the 7 big mountains in the world, and it's unbelievable. The 7 summits, as they say it in the jingo there. But it's amazing, and he's going to go do another one right next to it, right after. And it's a former NFL wide receiver, Mark Pattison, and he just, after football, found a passion for climbing mountains and hiking up these beautiful summits. And if you've been following along, I've just been posting it with the videos, with the way in which it's done. You don't just go, okay, let's just climb up the mountain. It's a lot of ups and downs, stops and starts, and you got to hit the weather right. So it's an amazing thing to do, and I'm not trying to do anything for 6 hours that's not indoors. You know what I'm saying, my friend?
Dude, that's where I'm at. And like, that's how I operate. Like, I don't even like hiking. Like, hiking is not my thing, and nature is not my thing. I don't really care to be outside for a ton of stuff. Like, I like going on boats. I like being in the water. I like laying out in the sun. I'll cut the grass, but I'm not trying to do anything really athletic in nature, unless it's kicking a soccer ball. That's about it. Otherwise, I'm just not all about that life. And this was 6 hours in 2 feet of snow. Let me put it to you this way. You walk so much and you're so close to the sun, it's cold enough for snow to freeze and for you to have to walk through it. But it's also warm enough to where you're walking around doing this in a t-shirt. I ended up with the worst sunburn on my neck and on my arms. My arms were like prickly, and my neck was almost purple because of all of the light reflecting off of the sun. It was one of those things where you took a bad situation and you just compounded it. But the actual vacation itself was great, and it was cool to do it with my girlfriend. She's a lot of fun, man. She's really good at planning things. I feel bad for her because she's always like, "Hey, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go?" And I'm like, "I don't care." And she's like, "Can you at least have an opinion?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't really care. Like, we're here because you want to be here. Like, this isn't my thing.
Did you
like, whatever you want to do, let's do it."
Did she tell you I snuck into her DMs?
No.
Not like that, perverts. There was a photo where she was posting like just drinking coffee. And I said, damn. I messaged her and I said, all right, how do we find a way to squat at this place you guys are staying at? It's beautiful. I'm coming. And she's like, it's absolutely beautiful. So it was funny. And I was like,
dude,
it was a beautiful place you guys stayed, surrounded by mountains. And it looked like you just had your own little plot of land. And it makes you realize,
stayed at
wow.
2 different places, man. It's like two different Airbnbs. And the first one was, I don't know. The first one smelled like weed, and it was I don't know. It was what it was. The dogs that were on the property were cool. The homeowner, it was like a guest house that was roughly 35 yards from the actual house. So I don't know. It was weird. But the second place we stayed at, the family was absolutely great. And we stayed on their property. And like when I say like the guest house was like 10 feet away from the actual house, it really was. Like I could hear the mom yelling at the kids at certain points. So, but like they were so inviting, and their land was absolutely crazy. I guess the guy owned like 18 acres, and it was like this mountainy area, and dude, it was banana boats. It was absolutely crazy. They were fantastic. Their property was great. Their kids were great. Like I love your kids. I don't like a lot of kids. I usually think kids are bad just because they act like hellions. Your kids are great, like I said. But these kids were absolutely fantastic as well. Like they were so polite, so nice. I'd have just went and hung out with the kids and played Legos all day if I could have. So it was crazy. And the spot that you're talking about, absolutely gorgeous, man. Like the sunrises and the sunsets were absolutely cool.
Nice. Thursday, you know what it means. Middle of May, the Lions schedule has dropped. You and I talked about it pre-show. We looked at it and we said, whoa. At first, maybe I would have thought that the Rams game would have been fun to be early, but I love it where it is. 7 weeks in, you get into a rhythm. On the road, week 7, the Lions open up against the San Francisco 49ers, and they earned a Monday Night Football game. Unfortunately, it's on the road against the Packers, a spot where, for some reason, the officials just love to jerk off the Lions and just do stupid-ass shit. So it's again, traumatic for everybody that is familiar with the Lions, because anytime it's Lions in primetime, maybe Dan Campbell will blow his lid and absolutely pile drive an official if they jack up a call. But the first 2 games, bro, I looked at the schedule. It's tough. As we're recording this, I'm looking over it, and everyone's doing the win-loss, and we'll probably look at it in just a few moments here. But, man, that setup looks absolutely brutal, and it's sick. I mean, that's not the way I wanted it. I put best-case scenarios at SI All Lions. I wanted to start with the Bengals. You don't want to start with the San Francisco 49ers, who have an established quarterback, who have talent, and potentially, open up as a touchdown favorite, which I thought was pretty high. I thought the Lions might even end up being a favorite, but they're not. Touchdown underdog, Detroit Lions. What do you think of the first couple games? Early thoughts on the schedule?
Dude, the first couple weeks are going to be brutal for this team. Here's the thing. This season can't be about wins and losses. And I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but it absolutely cannot be about wins and losses. You've got to look at different groups and see how they grow as the season goes along. You got to look at how this coaching staff grows as a coaching staff. This is going to be a season all about growth. And it's not going to be laid down in wins and losses. It's going to be in how they play on the field and how the individual players take that next step going forward, because this is obviously a building block season, because this team's going to get their teeth kicked in. We talked about the first 4 games and how they could possibly go 1-3. That's if they get a win against the Bears. And it doesn't get any easier after that. I know that we wanted the Rams game early. We wanted to be that Sunday night or that Monday night football game that kind of kicks off the season. And that would have been cool. Or even later in the season where something's on the line for the Rams, because I don't think either one of us believe that there's going to be something on the line for the Lions. But geez, the way this schedule sets up and unfolds, it's really unfortunate that we get our 17-game schedule with a team that is going through a bit of a retool, and they're just going to be, honestly, they're just going to get their faces punched in. And I think that's a good thing overall for the organization. You know, like going forward, it'll probably be the best thing. You kind of seen what the Pistons are doing, right? Pistons executed a perfect tank job, absolutely perfect. They ended up in the top 3. They've got the top 3 best odds to land the number 1 overall pick, and you know it all hinged on one final game, and they did their damnedest to blow the game the other night, turning it over 28 times. And I think this season for the Detroit Lions is going to be something reminiscent to what the Lions or what the Pistons just did, because you're going to go into this season, and I don't think the fan base is expecting a ton. I don't think we're expecting a lot of wins. And by God, if you look at that schedule, you're not going to get them. But you want to see the growth. You want to find a couple things that you can latch this team onto going forward. And you just want them to go out there and be respectable for stretches in games. And in the end, just lose them, because you don't need to win. You need to look towards the future and getting whatever it is that's going to help make this team better. We all rejoiced what Brad Holmes did in his first draft. Imagine what he can do in his second draft. Have you heard the audio that Atlanta released where Detroit called them and basically just checked in to see what they were doing at 4, if they were going to draft and who they were going to draft, or if they were looking at trading out of that 4th spot? Did you hear that audio or no?
I heard it, and it was more like kind of like a confirmation, and it was just for pressure. I like to see that kind of stuff. And
dude, it was so enlightening. Like, that's something that good organizations do. That's something that good organizations that have a feel of what another team is doing, and it is something that a good organization that has good rapport with other teams does. I don't know if Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn had that type of rapport with other teams, but it is refreshing to see Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, whomever else was in that room be able to reach out to Atlanta and just, hey, let us just kind of gauge the water real quick. Let us just check in. Let's just make sure, because if you're going to do what we talked about, which they exchanged draft strategy, obviously, let us know so that way we can kind of adjust what we're doing next. I don't know. I was blown away. I was floored. And again, it's another gold star for this front office in my book.
Gold star. I think that's something that we're not used to, is looking at an executive that kind of gauged what was going on. But, potentially speaking, there still is room for criticism, critique. If you check out Logan's redraft, there are some talented individuals that you could look at that potentially could have been on the roster. But you identified a type of player. You identified a certain type of player that you were looking for: gritty, speedy, athletic. And now we'll see if they fit in the system and actually buy in. But, and I know you probably didn't think we were going to pivot here, but the Lions simply can't enjoy good news. It just isn't possible. It has been from the dawn of this podcast. Something great happens, we flip our shit, we get excited, we bro hug, we high five, and then the hammer drops. Penei Sewell, COVID-19, not attending rookie minicamp. Hopefully he's an athlete in shape. You don't hear about all the after effects or one of those type of viruses that lingers in terms of the impact. I'm hoping and praying that's not the case, because Brad Holmes was damn near slamming tables because of how excited he was to land Penei Sewell. It's really the Lions are on the brink of having one of the best offensive lines for the next few seasons. And if this derails it, if potentially there's setbacks or things like that, just throwing out worst case scenario, this could be an epic SOL type moment, curse moment here if the number 7 overall pick goes back home and just on the brink of arriving in Metro Detroit to get his ass to work, gets COVID-19 and has a problem. I can't believe it. I can't believe that broke on Wednesday.
I mean, look, it's kind of where we're at with it all, right? And it's unfortunate that it happened to the most highly touted rookie in this draft class, but it's early enough in the preseason where it's not going to really impact a whole lot. It sucks that he's going to miss rookie mini camp, but he's not going to miss camp. Let him get it now. Hopefully his body builds up some antibodies to it, and it doesn't impair him and it doesn't affect him. And I think that's going to be the real question, right? Is long term, how does this affect him? And it's one of those things too where, you know, you hear about people who get it and they don't really have a ton of symptoms. And then you hear about people who get it and they have absolutely brutal symptoms. So I'll give you 2 examples. My girlfriend's brother and his kids and his fiance's kids and his fiance, they all got it and they felt completely fine. They were walking around. They're like, yeah, besides kind of having the sniffles and losing taste, we don't really have any ill effects from it. Like there was nothing wrong with any of them, the kids and the adults. And honestly, neither one of them is extremely active. They're in decent shape, but they're not extremely active, not like an athlete would be. And then you have somebody like my sister and my brother-in-law who ended up getting it. And my brother-in-law was basically good after about 10 days. He was ready to go out into the world. And my sister was like, hey, dummy, you got to at least hang out for at least 4, maybe 5 more days before you can go and try to do anything. Now, mind you, my sister got it. My sister got it so bad. My sister was sidelined for almost 4 weeks. It was a full 3 weeks, and it was like 3.5-ish, almost 4. And like she couldn't even keep her head up. She was super ill from it. So it affects everybody just a little bit different. And I think we hope that as an athlete, he is more like my girlfriend's brother and sister, future sister-in-law, where it doesn't really impact him too much. It's not too harsh. It's more of like a cold, and he just kind of has to quarantine for 14 days, and then he'll be good to go. It's really unfortunate, though, that it does happen to this particular rookie, but the saving grace is it's early enough. It shouldn't have an impact on the season as long as he recovers at 100%. So fingers crossed he recovers at 100%. And you're right. I was not anticipating us pivoting there.
Because it sucks.
I don't think it's that bad, man. I know
you're following SI Lions. You got to watch each and every day, each and every moment, each and every hour. Check out the news because it could be good, bad, indifferent, crazy, wild. Wait till you see probably in the next half hour my schedule prediction because it's going to be wild. It might rile some people up. Good or bad. Little tease here. I'll share it with you on air as we record. Okay, so the schedule, you look at it and you see it. What are your thoughts about the Rams game? You're going to be excited for Week 7. Is that the game where you go, I can't wait to see it? Any thoughts on a road trip? You want to go out to L.A., baby? You want to go out there and cover it? You want to get out there and be like, so Matthew, what did it feel like to play the old team? So Matthew, you threw 4 interceptions. You're kind of used to that playing in Detroit. What was it like to lose?
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, can we make it happen? Can we go out to LA to cover this? I mean, I'd love to. It'd be fantastic.
If I wasn't like you and scared of flights, I'd consider it. We'll drive out there. Like we'll leave on a Monday, get there on Sunday.
So here's the deal. I'm most like looking at the schedule. I'm excited for Week 1, right? Because I want to see what San Francisco looks like. Like San Francisco was a team last year that everybody had penciled in to contend for the championship, and that was a team that ended up getting derailed by injuries so fast. Like by the time Week 3 was over, just about every one of their starters was banged up and dying. So I want to see what San Francisco is going to look like. I want to see if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to hang on to his job, or does Trey Lance take it from him? It's going to be super interesting to kind of watch that unfold. I also am excited about the Rams game. And then I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan. I love Baker Mayfield. Okay. And I know Cleveland is basically the symbiotic sister child of the Detroit Lions, but I love Baker Mayfield, and I love what the Cleveland Browns have done. They basically have gone from being the Detroit Lions to being a team that can actually contend for a playoff spot. So I'm excited to see what Cleveland actually does this year. So those are my 3 big games. What are your 3 big games that you're super interested in?
Obviously, the first one, I want to see what Dan Campbell brings to the table. Obviously, the Rams game. And then I'm fascinated with the games against the Steelers and the good teams. You got the Falcons, Kyle Pitts. I want to see the draft. I want to see later on if Thanksgiving, is it Justin Fields? Though that's what interests me the most is by the time it's Thanksgiving, do the Lions get the big dog? And do we get an early glimpse of what happened? So I can't wait to see it. But, I think that early on it's going to be a struggle, but there's opportunity and room for growth as the Lions grow and they do things. I think that the grit, compete level is going to be high. And I think that Jared Goff and the rest of this team is going to be looking to prove things. Hockenson, Swift, you're going to dink and dunk down the field, play a little bit better on defense. You got Jeff Okudah improving. There's some talent. If they get put in right positions and you have that grit, you might get some wins.
Yeah, look, I think you have to see a guy like TJ Hockenson, a guy like Jeff Okudah, and a guy like DeAndre Swift take huge steps forward. Hopefully this coaching staff puts them in positions where they can actually take that next step forward in their career. TJ Hockenson, top 10, top 5 tight end last year. Look, I'm demanding more. I want him to be in the top 3 this year. DeAndre Swift, I think he needs to have a really good season if this team is going to do anything and look any little bit respectable. And I think Jeff Okudah basically needs to prove that he was worth where he was drafted, because in my book, you could put a pylon out there and you're going to get a little bit more, because at least whoever's out there running has to run around that pylon. They can't run through it. So all 3 of those guys, I think, have to have a monster impact on next season and have to really show up.
Yeah, I can't wait. Early thought, just glance through as we talk through it. Where are you seeing this? Are you one of those guys that's like, all right, 7-10, 6-11? Where do you think you see potential wins on this schedule? Is it the Bengals only, Falcons, maybe some of the home games? Where do you see some of the wins where you could say, okay, maybe there's an opportunity based on history, the Lions can do well? Because remember, you got Jared Goff, you got 3 new, potential pieces on offense, you got a running game that you're looking to establish. What are you seeing?
So looking at the schedule, I've got 3 wins. And I've got 2 that are kind of a coin flip. So possibly 5 wins next season. So I've got the Bears, because I just don't believe in the Bears. I've got 2 wins there. I've got the Bengals. Actually, no. So it could be 4 wins. I lied to you. So it's both Bears games, the Bengals, and then my coin flip game is going to be the Denver game, depending on what happens in Denver. Look, Denver's still struggling to figure out what they're doing with the quarterback. I mean, maybe Aaron Rodgers ends up there, maybe not. They do have to go out to Denver to play. Denver is extremely difficult to play. So initially I have that as a loss, but Detroit could surprise you, play pretty well, and maybe get a win there, because I don't think Denver's any great shakes of a football team. So right now I've got them 3-14 with the possibility of going 4-13.
Okay. As I'm getting through it, I'm on week 6. I got the Lions on a 4-game winning streak, baby.
Oh,
I see them starting out slow, and then the wins start, baby. They start with the Ravens, who cannot keep up with the Lions offense, the Bears, the Vikings, and the Bengals. Right now, I'm midway through it as we're recording, and right now, after 6 games, I got the Lions at 4-2, baby. And it's going to be positive, baby. It's hype season. I'm not going to come out here like Adam.
Season.
Oh, my
God. That's a lot of Kool-Aid you're drinking.
Adam's going to be like 3 wins. Get out of here. Come on. It's Dan Campbell. It's hype time. We can't be out here doing the same things over and over. You got Brad Holmes running this thing like an OG. He's got he asked Martha for money, asked Martha and Sheila to upgrade the tech room, and he did it, and everything's going well. So far, so good. I think
Look, man, I think they're going to be a better team. I just don't think they're going to be a very good team. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like, I think they're going to be a team that is much better than they were last year. And you'll see that on the field. But I don't think this team is any good. And I don't think they have enough talented pieces to win games the way that they're going to need to close out games. And that's why I feel that they're only going to win 3 games, possibly 4.
Okay. Make sure you subscribe to get all of this daily content from the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button each and every time you see a tweet or you see a post on Facebook. Anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, type in Detroit Sports Podcast. and the original OG podcast here in Metro Detroit will entertain you with daily Detroit sports content. Now, we do got to turn our attention because, again, news made on Wednesday. The golden piece in the Justin Verlander trade. Franklin Perez gets whacked and released, and it's a further black mark on Avila. One of the centerpieces of the trade for Justin Verlander. Not even going to be here past 5 years. It's an embarrassment, and people are definitely riled up about the Tigers. You got national media still, towing the line and saying he's going to be here for more than a year and a half to see this through. But when you're starting to see this rebuild, all the other teams are lapping the Tigers, and it's not even close. They're like, the young pup that's just trying to get out on the, that gets on the team because he's, a really nice kid, but he really sucks. And then, he gets all hyped up in the press. And then when he finally gets out on the track, he gets lapped like 6 times. And you're like, oh, it's cute. In 90th place is little Jerry. And you're like, everyone else is like really running here. What's going on with little Jerry? And that's what's going on with little Avila. He's getting lapped by the rest of the GMs here in town, and it's not even close. His moves are bad. Everything's right now. In terms of the rebuild, you're seeing younger players perform better with other clubs, and it's just, where's the talent? Where's the stuff that leads you? Where's the hope? It's not there.
Yeah, and I think the most damning part of all of it is Avila's, I guess his specialty was international talent. You've got no international young talent on this team. Like, there's nobody that he's gone out and signed. There's nobody like Fernando Tatis Jr. Like, Avila should have been all over that before anybody else was. He's not. He wasn't. His trades have been absolutely brutal. You just released basically the centerpiece of the Justin Verlander trade because he's had to have shoulder surgery yet again. It's one of those things where when you do have good talent, like a guy like JD Martinez or Nick Castellanos, you end up just letting them go, or you trade them away for pennies on the dollar. He's just done a poor job of roster construction. He's done a poor job of managing and acquiring these trades. Like, I can't necessarily give you credit when you go out and you draft a guy like Casey Mize. Everybody and their grandmother knew Casey Mize should have been the number 1 overall pick, right? So, like, kudos to you for not screwing that up. I can't give you credit for that. Like, me and you, who don't necessarily even watch. I mean, I watch a little bit of college baseball. I think I probably watch more college baseball than you do, but I don't watch a ton of it. It's not like I'm sitting down tuning in like, oh man, I can't wait to watch this game, this Vanderbilt versus Florida game. Like, no. Like, if it's on, I'll watch it, but I'm not like, oh my God, I got to go see this. Avila and his scouting staff, that's their job. And he hasn't done a good job of necessarily drafting players and bringing guys up. If you look at the way that this minor league team is constructed and all the guys that everybody talks about, they're basically the guys that are already up here. Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize. These are number 1, number 2, number 3 prospects in this minor league organization. They're already up here. They shouldn't count in your minor league system. So I don't want to hear how this minor league system is rated in the top 10 because those guys are already here. Avila has done such a piss poor job. And to hear a guy like John Paul Morosi come out and basically give a report and talk about how he's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future is really disheartening when you have a guy like Theo Epstein who has won in a place like Chicago with the Cubs, has won in a place like Boston with the Red Sox. These are 2 franchises that were essentially cursed, if you believed everything that everybody said. And he was able to take them from 0 to hero and win them championships. This guy's at home sitting on his couch, just waiting to get his dick wet again. All he wants to do is get back into baseball. Yet you got a guy like Avila here ruining this organization, ruining this franchise. He hasn't done anything that has been remotely palpable to helping get this organization to being a contender. I don't want to hear about drafting Casey Mize. I don't want to hear about that. Like, I don't care about that. You and I could have did that. My cup of coffee that I have sitting in front of me could have done that. You haven't brought anybody up here to be able to help out this organization in the future or right now. Like going out and getting Torkelson. again, you don't get credit when it's beating you in the face and that guy should be picked up. You know what I'm saying? You don't get credit for that. So I don't understand what Chris Ilitch is seeing. Maybe Avila's got some video of him doing some nefarious actions. I don't know. But the fact that he's still here blows my mind. And the fact that there is not more of an outcry for him to be fired is absolutely insane to me. And when you have a guy who has done it and has won other places and is legitimately a great general manager in Theo Epstein, and yet you don't go get him or you don't even make a phone call, what does it tell you about your ownership? It's piss poor. And I think a lot of this falls more on Chris Ilitch than it does on Avila, because Chris Ilitch is the one who is empowering Avila to go ahead and continue on his merry way. If Chris Ilitch really had a pulse on things and really gave a shit, he would turn up the heat on Avila's seat. And yet all we hear is how Avila's seat is as cool as the other side of the pillow on a winter night. So it frustrates me, man. As a baseball fan, it frustrates me. It absolutely sucks. And if you're a Tigers fan, you should be upset. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's absolutely tough. There's no hope. There's no juice. And it's all bad. And yeah, you're getting some victories. You got lucky and rebounded against a horrible team in or in a horrible stadium at Fenway in regards to the park there, in regards to the fact that it's people are referred to it like a softball park. It's a bandbox and everybody can just hit home runs galore, and you can really walk in there to that ballpark and really get well in terms of your offense. But when you look at the likes of Jimenez, he can't get it together. The offense, Miguel Cabrera. We'll leave it at that.
How disappointing is Joe Jimenez?
It's just really bad. From an all-star to just completely not able to, command anything. It's disappointing at the highest levels. And then we haven't even talked about Miggy and his struggles. He's not back, and it's just going to be an albatross of a contract.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the harder things to stomach, right? Is Miguel. Like, we knew when Miguel Cabrera was signed, it wasn't going to be good long-term, but the dramatic fall off has been disappointing, to say the least. And speaking of disappointing, like I mentioned, Joe Jimenez, this was a guy who a few years ago we were making T-shirts for the podcast, and that was a T-shirt we made. It was Free Joe Jimenez,
right?
And honestly, at this point, he needs to be put back in a box.
Right.
Don't let him out. It's just the whole team is disappointing, man. Like there's no young star where you're like, man, that guy's going to be great. Like even Casey Mize right now, right? I know he's young. I know he's a pitcher. And I know that they take a little bit of time to develop. But there are times where you can see a flash, you could see a spark, you could see something like, man, that guy's going to be great. And you just haven't seen that with anybody on this roster. There's nobody right now. And I think it's pretty damning for this front office. And I think it's damning for Ilitch. I think it's damning for Avila. I think it's damning for the whole damn crew. I mean, here's the thing: who's worse at their job? Because this is gonna segue into a topic we're going to talk about in a second. Who's worse at their job, Jeff Blashill or Avila? If you had to pick one to continue to do their job, which one are you going to side with?
Ooh, I think that Avila is doing a worse job in regards to the build, because you have a whole slew of prospects that aren't even here, and the team is playing really bad. So I think the Tigers are doing a worse job.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. With the Red Wings, you can at least see some marginal. We're going to use the word marginal improvement in certain areas. So I think if you had to pick one. The one for you to pick would probably be Jeff Blashill, just because especially down the stretch this season, the Red Wings did get a little bit better. They at least their effort level was high. So that's nice to see. Plus, that Jeff Blashill has a bit of a history of working with young talent and winning championships. At least they did it in Grand Rapids. I don't know if that's going to translate to the NHL. I'm still waiting on it. He's been here for 7 years now, and he's got a very piss poor record, but he has at least one playoff win. That's more than Avila has. So if you had to side with one, I'm probably going to go with Jeff Blashill. All of that being said, if Jeff Blashill gets more talent, do you think the Red Wings can succeed with him at the helm, and can he succeed personally as a head coach?
No. Here's why.
You hate Blashill, so I knew this was coming.
No, because here's why. When you look at it, yes, you're going to see more scoring. You're going to see across the board at least a better output. You saw it. But you look at some of the intangibles that speak to coaching. At what point does anybody going to recognize that this power play has no ability to execute? No crisp passing, no efficiency. That's where coaching comes in. At what point are you going to have sustained success and effort where you don't have games where it's so up and down and inconsistent? You think bringing in different talent is just going to all of a sudden raise up the likes of a Dylan Larkin from the depths of despair that he's in and make him a superstar? No. I think collectively what you're seeing is a group of athletes that are indirectly saying, get us a new voice. Get us a Gerard Gallant. Get us somebody else. Or get us a player's coach. Get us somebody else besides Blashill. That's what they're saying. And how many more ways does it have to be sliced up to let everybody know that this guy is a coach that is probably peaked? This is what you get, is you're going to get a coach that's going to get you, 20 to 30 wins and is going to have a team that struggles in certain areas consistently. And on defense, in terms of puck possession, in terms of, power play efficiency, the team didn't do good enough. And is it going to turn around? No. And I watched, to be honest, I watched more than a handful of games, and it was quite clear the goaltending was the strength of the team. But time and time again, there was just be a time where they just, they had that long stretch where they were dry on the power play. What caused that? And I just think that the longer it goes, I think the debate's being had, but I can't see him doing it. I think all the whispers and the tea leaves are saying he's going to get a 2-year extension. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably a 2-year extension as well. And look, this is what I'll tell you. We had this conversation probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I don't think it does this organization any good to get rid of Blashill right now. It doesn't do you any good to go out and get your Gerard Gallant. It doesn't do you any good to go out and get whoever that next head coach is going to be right now. And the reason for that is this team's not in a position to win. I think Steve Yzerman has looked at what he had to work with, and I think he was absolutely floored by the lack of talent that was in the minor league system and that's on this roster. You brought up Dylan Larkin. I think we both agree, and I think the majority of the fans who watch agree. Dylan Larkin isn't going to be a superstar. Dylan Larkin will be a guy who's going to be a marginal star, maybe. I honestly, if you asked me who the best player on this roster is right now, I would in this order, I would tell you it would be Vrana and it would be Bertuzzi. I think Bertuzzi is a better player than Dylan Larkin is. I don't think Dylan Larkin is any great shakes, and he's the guy who you've essentially hitched your wagon to as an organization. So the talent's not here, and it's hard for a head coach to get wins and to produce when you don't have talented guys, when you're going up against teams that have much more stacked rosters than you. It's just difficult. You can only game plan so much, and you can only try to do something like tie up the neutral zone so much. It doesn't necessarily work when your guys are a little bit slower, your guys aren't as fast, your guys don't see the ice as well. I think Blashill stays for at least 1 more year. You're right, probably 2. And then after that, I think Steve Yzerman will have his pick of whomever he wants, because at that time, you will start to get the trickulation and the matriculation of superstars or some of the guys that he picked to come up from Grand Rapids into the Red Wings organization. So I think you've got at least 1 more year of Blashill, maybe 2. They might give him a 2-year deal just so he's not a dead man walking. But I think there will probably be like a team option if they can work it in there so the Red Wings could buy him out at the end of next year. Don't be surprised, man. Like, he's coming back. It only seems to make sense. It's weird that it's taking this long for something to come out about the deal being done. But he's coming back. I don't see any way he does not come back unless he has some sort of crazy demand where Steve Yzerman's like, you know what, get your shit, get out. And I think that's what you're hoping. I think a lot of fans are probably hoping that.
You think so, huh? A good opportunity for the Red Wings here. In terms of just the rebuild, are we looking at 4 more years until we look at, do we need to put on the binoculars and turn it the other way and look farther? Because it seems like all the picks are there and we just got to sit back and wait. And it just seems like, Steve Yzerman and the Pistons are doing well in securing the picks, but it just seems like you need that next level of coach to kind of take it to the next level.
Well, this is kind of the thing, right? They were totally screwed last year when it came to the draft and the draft lottery. The draft lottery has thus since changed. Them losing and them playing as poorly as they are playing is actually a really good thing for this team, because they have better chances to get that elite standout player. And if you can get 1 or 2 of those guys to actually hit, it'll be bananas for this organization, for this team. You just look at Chicago, right? Chicago was lucky enough to come up with Jonathan Taves and was lucky enough to come up with Patrick Kane. And they've been riding that for the last 10 years, maybe 15 years. I don't even know how long it's been. But they've been riding it, and they've won multiple championships with it. And it's a team that regularly competes and gets into the playoffs. You need that as a Red Wing. As the organization has to do that. And how they do that is basically by sucking, right? You need to be bad so you can luck up and maybe get one of those generational talents that pop in the draft at just the right time, or you need to be able to draft high enough to be able to get guys like that so you can put them in your organization, and then almost all at once everybody comes up, and then you can start to kind of piece other veterans in and around them and make them better. And I think that's what Steve Yzerman is trying to do. You traded a great commodity in Anthony Mantha. Obviously, people wanted him. Okay, you traded him to Washington, and look what you got. There was a ton of comparison that Jacob Vrana was basically Anthony Mantha 2.0. I think after seeing what we've seen, Vrana's probably a better player than Anthony Mantha is. On top of that, you got a draft pick. On top of that, you got a veteran player who's under contract. So when the expansion draft comes around, you don't have to risk losing any of your talented players, because you can expose this veteran player who other teams might want or might take. Either way you cut it, you are protecting your young stars. I think what Steve Yzerman has done is he understands how the game is played. And it is more a game of chess than checkers. And this dude is playing some elite level chess right now. And you just have to wait, watch, and let the pieces fall where they may. I have nothing but faith in him. And if he feels that bringing Blashill back for 1 or 2 more years is the way to go, I'm okay with it. And I'm willing to ride with it.
Oh, man. I can't wait to dive more into it to see as we progress with these teams and their turnarounds. Great podcast, cuz. These 45 minutes just flew by. Love looking at the schedule. To end, you guys will be the first to hear it. And this, if you check out SIL Lions, you'll see it. I got the Lions going 10-7, baby. They have a nice stretch of time in the middle portion of the season as they get going. They get W's against the Bears, the Vikings, who they sweep. And they finish the season on a 2-game losing streak, but I see 10 wins in there. Check out SIL Lions to see what percolated in my brain. Thanks, cuz. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamR. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Check out the network and make sure you follow us each and every day. Thanks, cuz. Talk soon.